Jimon's core purpose or core motivation would be to bridge African storytelling with global audiences, champion African representation in Hollywood, and promote reconciliation between Africa and its diaspora. His mission focuses on elevating African narratives and creating meaningful connections between African heritage and contemporary culture.
I'm still struggling trying to make a living.
After 30 years in this business.
Ignored me for the Oscars, talking about the fact that they thought that I just came off the boat, that systemic racism is not something that you can deal with lightly. It's so deep inserted in so many things that we do across the board.
He's trying to say, look, we are at a disadvantage overall, and maybe that's it. It never came across that way initially. When I watched it, it was like, oh, it's just this institution. But watching it again and playing it back, I can see he's talking about. Hey, what's happening, people? Welcome back to Underrated Individuals TV. A clip of a Hollywood black African actor has gone viral, and it's been in circulation for about 3 weeks. And I wanted to give my opinion on it, and I kept on thinking, how do I build this person rather than break them? So I figured, let's unpack the clip first, and then we're gonna put what he says right at the end through our artist business canvas, and hopefully we'll start to see some cool stuff happen. Okay, here goes nothing.
How has Hollywood changed in terms of African representation in what you see since you started out to what's being produced now?
Yes, quite a bit has changed. I must say, because of course, when I came out with Amistad, I was nominated for a Golden Globe, but they ignored me for the Oscars, talking about the fact that they thought that I just came off the boat and off the streets, where Steven Spielberg, used me for this film. And even though I successfully did that, they just didn't feel like I was an actor for whom we should pay any respect to. So this conceptual idea of diversity and all that, it still has a long way to go.
Okay, so opening of that, he's talking about being nominated for one thing and not being seen for another, for systemic, he's pointing out systemic racism, yeah, but not really. Let's unpack it, because we have people like Leonardo DiCaprio, who was also not been appreciated by these groups of people, and he's white. And took a while for him to get appreciated. Hollywood has done this in order to perpetuate certain ideologies and to put certain things forward. So you have to play their game for them to acknowledge you. Do I think it's right? No, but we play into it. So the Grammys, they have ideas that they're trying to put forward. And if you go through certain channels, as we have seen with a bunch of artists, even African artists, going and interacting with certain people in Hollywood or in that space, and then being nominated for Grammys after. But what they do is they try and bring you on board to amplify what they're trying to amplify. They're not including you so that you can be appreciated. No. They're including you so that others can come and see what they want them to see. You have to have that understanding that sometimes being in those spaces does not mean that you're part of the fabric. It just simply means that you are a tool that they are utilizing for their benefit. And if you don't understand that, then you walk into these spaces and you are heavily disappointed because you realize they don't actually appreciate you. And the people at the top of the food chain, all of it just builds. The Grammys, the Oscars, the Golden Globes, they're all holding on by like the whiskers end, like just for relevance. And we are gifting them that relevance by still mentioning them in these conversations. So for me personally, they didn't leave you out. You were never in. That's kind of, take it from that perspective rather than feeling entitled, like as if you deserve something. No, You don't deserve any of that. That's their thing. We've got ours, you know. If anything, he should be up for multiple African nominations and awards. That he should lean on that. And if we're not appreciating it, then that's a problem.
Systemic racism don't change like that anytime soon. I mean, I'm still struggling trying to make a living.
After 30 years in this business,
So that statement, that's what I think made him go viral, is the fact that after so many years he's still struggling to make a living. That's easy to unpack. You had opportunity and you have not managed to capitalize on the opportunity. I've been there. I was on Big Brother Africa, and at one point you could have said, yeah, Jerome Arab or JJ is a household name on the continent. I couldn't capitalize on it because I didn't have the resources and the tools to capitalize on it. In your case, yes, it's a different, thing. It's a lot bigger of a platform. But again, you just didn't have the tools or the necessary tools to capitalize on it. That is a financial literacy thing, and that's a business acumen thing. It's positioning, it's so many things, it's marketing, and that is nothing to do with systemic racism in the industry. That's to do with access to information. It's systemic racism, but probably more on an educational side rather than actually the Hollywood institution. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Mark my words. But I'm just saying, if you're struggling and you've made millions, you're just not investing right. That's the space that we're in. Some of you may go, oh, that doesn't. Okay, let's break it down this way. There's people that will get $1,000 a month and scrape by, just always. They thousand, they buy their food, they have their drinks and they have their parties and they scrape by and they scrape by. There's people that will get 600 a month, right? And they will scrape by, but they'll invest. They'll do it again, they'll invest, they'll do it again. And then the following year, they've got a chicken business in Africa, or they've got this other business and that. And now that 600 that they were earning is just money that they use for the household. And the other money is the money they keep on investing and investing. And before you know it, they have houses, they have things. If you're struggling at this stage after 20 years of earning and you are worth millions, then you're just not making the right investment choices. And that's not me saying you're bad. No, that's me saying, look, let's look at this realistically. You shouldn't be struggling. You should have invested well. And that's down to a team, maybe, or understanding. And the lack of understanding usually is what leaves us in these spaces, is we don't have the right conversations with the right people. If he spoke to Denzel Washington, if he spoke to Tyler Perry, if he spoke to Curtis Jackson, if he spoke to Viola Davis, Idris Elba, there's a bunch of people that if he just sat down with them for an hour, 2 hours, they would unpack the industry for him. And he'd understand that he needs a different approach for him to become a, multi-millionaire and reach his worth. So again, mismanagement.
After, let's speak, 30 years, let's say maybe the first 10 years was really trying to, sort of acclimate myself to the industry.
And then
establish myself. I've been in this business and making films now over 2 decades, and still, with 2 Oscar nominations, been in many big blockbuster films, and yet I'm still struggling financially to.
So again, the nominations, the award nominations, and these spaces are simply positioning marketing tools. They are not money facilitators. They do not pay you to win the award or to be nominated for the award. All it does is it adds light to what you are doing. So make sure that you have something going, because if you don't have anything going, then there's nothing for people to see. And what most actors think is, having something going is me being on another production. No, having something going is understanding what your purpose is and communicating that. So when people land on your pages or on stuff related to you, they can see what your mission is very clearly. So again, the nominations don't account for anything if there's multiple people Emmy nominated on the continent of Africa who haven't left the continent and haven't been in as many productions, but they're Emmy nominated, Emmy award winning, all of this stuff. They've got these awards and accolades, but financially they're struggling. Why? Is they think that the outcome is that I want to be an Oscar award winning actor, but that doesn't pay you. So if you want to get paid, understand that that's not the business. Winning the award is not the business. The business is business. The award is marketing.
To make a living, definitely underpaid.
Growing up, you're one of the first big black actors I saw in big budget films. So it's mind boggling to me.
But that's a sign for you that systemic racism is not something that you can deal with lightly. It's so deep inserted in so many things that we do across the board. And
so I like the fact that he said it this way. Now, bear in mind, this is not directly talking about the Hollywood industry alone. When he's talking about this thing, he's talking about it across the board, he says. Education plays a major part in this. Is we go to schools and we learn things that don't actually benefit us outside of that environment. In fact, we've got a lot of issues regarding financial literacy and the black education of financial literacy. So when you have a bad understanding of how capital works, it puts you in a position where you're always going to be on the back foot. That's kind of, I think that's where so yes, we can dissect the clip, and he's not saying that Hollywood alone is racist, or there's systemic racism in Hollywood. He's trying to say, look, we are at a disadvantage overall, and maybe that's it. It never came across that way initially. When I watched it, it was like, oh, it's just this institution. But watching it again and playing it back, I can see he's talking about it being a bigger problem. So I hope that kind of starts to paint the picture a little bit more.
You don't overcome it. You just have to you have to cope with it and survive the best way you can.
So again, now what he's saying here is he hasn't got the resources or the tools to overcome it. That's what I'm hearing. You are my sister said this to me when must have been about 7 years ago. She said, you are what you put up with. It was when I was going through a tough time with relationship wise and with a bunch of different situations, and that simple comment, you are what you put up with. Now take this. If a bottle of water, as 50 Cent, I think, was the one talking about this in the last clip I watched. If a bottle of water costs $1 on the street and costs $2 in a kiosk and then costs $3, in the airplane and then costs $5 in a nightclub, the bottle of water hasn't changed. But what has changed is the place where it's appreciated, where it's essential. If you choose to be in this space and put up with this and just coast on, then that's a choice. It is not something that everyone has to live by. Some people will look at that and go, how do I beat the system? Example would be 50 Cent with Power. You've gone from music, and even in the music industry, they didn't want to let him in. Okay, cool. He manages to find his way into the industry, and then he starts to look at how the industry works. And as he's dissecting it, he goes, okay, cool. As he's spending time in the marketing rooms, in the, production, and so he's understanding the entirety of the music industry. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. It's not about being just a good musician, it's about understanding, or a good actor. It's about understanding the business you're in. He takes those notes and then he goes off and he starts to put together his own record label, G-Unit. And now, if you think about it, right? Eminem had his own version of that with D12. But with G-Unit, you can mention nearly every single rapper. Why? Because 50 Cent comes out and he's got the hottest record out. But what does he do before he releases his next album? He releases all of the other people under his label. Why? because he knows he's got relevance. So he's able to capitalize on that. He's signed those artists, so he's got equity in their projects. They go out and they sell, and then he's making money when he's not working from their work. He understood the business, but he went when he was signed and understood the business. So again, yes, does it exist? Yeah, we can't deny that. In a lot of spaces, we see it. But are we doing the necessary things to actually go past that? In this case, what he's saying is, oh, you just have to live with it. I don't believe that. Don't believe that at all. I think you either put up with it or you just get rid of it and you move on and you go and do something else. But understand what it is and then start to strategize on how you get past it in your field. That would be my advice, and not to kind of go, oh yeah, you just kind of cope. Coping is not a great place to be in. That just messes with your mental health. Constantly being put down and told that you're worth nothing can really mess you up. So I disagree with that statement.
What do you hope your legacy will be in this industry, for your acting, for your philanthropy?
I came to California with this compelling need to do something for my continent and do something for my people in general, and to champion this idea of reconciliation and reconnection with the motherland. I just hope that I have contributed to change the narrative about our people and the continent.
How can us as a group, underrated individuals, take Djimon from where he is and put him in a new space? That's what we're going to try and do right now, real quick. So Djimon Hounsou's Artist Business Canvas. Artist Business Canvas, a creative guide to building a thriving business with our team. So we developed this canvas to help creatives get ahead. Let's see what we've got for him. So the canvas is split into 12 segments. The starting segment is purpose, and we'll go through the rest. I'm just running this through my head, but I'm taking his purpose, and then we're going to drive from there. I'll put some notes in. So this is what the canvas kind of looks like. It's taken from the business model canvas by Strategizer, except we've added 3 extra spaces, and I'll explain those as we go. His purpose. So Djimon's core purpose or core motivation would be to bridge African storytelling with global audiences, champion African representation in Hollywood, and promote reconciliation between Africa and its diaspora. His mission focuses on elevating African narratives and creating meaningful connections between African heritage and contemporary culture. That's his purpose. Clear as day. That's what he said. That's what we've managed to decipher from it to the world. So let's go on. His form of expression currently is acting primarily, which is film and television. Secondary stuff is voice acting, modeling, activism, and public speaking. I can't say to what extent the public speaking and the motivation and the activism is happening, but it is there, and you can see it in parts of his brand. If you go on his Instagram, you can see that communication. Now, for me, his form of expression, if we were to take this, his channels would change a little bit more. Is we need something that's a little bit closer to what's happening in the current business now. So let's see what we do now with the Artist Business Canvas. We know his purpose, we know his form of expression. Bang, let's go in. Your form of expression, your art is your voice. We're gonna go bam. So audience, who's his audience? His core audience, right, would not just be people that watch his movies. His core audience, activist groups who are focused on equity. They are people in the industry who are struggling to get into the industry or understand the industry. They are actors, voice actors, theater. All of these people are his potential audience. And all it is he has to take what he's been through and start to communicate that with them. Community spaces would be festivals and conferences. And by festivals, we're talking about like film festivals and the likes, cultural festivals. He's got access to all of this stuff, and obviously activism kind of festivals. So those are the spaces that he should be kind of focused on. channels, when we talk about channels, I don't know if that will show, so I'll move this way. But channels, for me, it's very simple. Don't overcomplicate things. Start off with something that is a little bit long form. But in his case, we need to just get maybe like a YouTube going and a TikTok going. That's his stuff. And then collect a lot of these videos. He can use Get Munch and just get long interviews, go cut them into things, and have shorts going out. Now, you do that on YouTube. Will Smith has managed to start to crack down on YouTube. We have people like Cristiano Ronaldo on it. Mr. Beast has shown what you can potentially do and build your business from it. He just needs to do that related to entertainment, acting, and the representation, like African representation in Hollywood. He just needs to talk about those things and highlight some of the things he's talking about on his space and draw that community in and build that channel. You know, I would say social media is a strong tool. Use it. We're going to move on to type of communication. His type of communication should be, there's two forms. So you've got first reaching out to, I would even say governments, like on the continent, saying, look, I'm interested in coming and running workshops for free. If you're able to fund this process and help me with visas for such and such and such, we'll come and we'll also look at what we could potentially do to partner with some of the companies and institutions in your space. And you'll find a lot of the tourist bodies would be heavily interested in having him in those spaces. So, you know, the type of communication there is very formal, but then you've got this on his YouTubes and his TikToks where it's very informal. But as I said, to start, rather than us filming a ton of content, what we need to do is cut the content that already exists and repurpose it. Repurpose to draw the community in and go, look, I've got a page, we're on it. And his foundation page will then start to also see more likes, but it's all about his personal branding. His key activities was then move to talks, a lot of conversations. You probably even have to start his own podcast. That would make him, you know, a bit of money eventually, but it will also attract investors. He also needs to start to look at which stories he's going to invest in. So he needs to get some sort of feel on the continent of the stories that he wants to tell and start to build those connections so that he can start to film more projects and head more projects, whether you're directing, executive producing, all of that needs to happen there. And he can do this with a team. He doesn't have to do everything. But if he has a good team, that stuff will be easy to come by. Start off with short films if you feel that feature length are too long, and just throw them online where you're breaking that barrier. I think it's called Omeletto, who have managed to do some amazing stuff. He could do that with story equity and the African space and just get more filmmakers to share their content with him, and he'll put it on his platform and he'll market it and he'll push it. His key partners or potential partners, may we say, because I don't know his team that well, but we're looking at other executives, like black executives in Hollywood, because he can invite them onto his podcast and have those really meaningful conversations and grow those audiences, and supply younger audiences with information that may, or younger actors and stuff in Hollywood coming from abroad or even within, with better information as to how they can move. So we say industry executives, African executives as well. Potential partners are African business owners, like big African business owners. We're talking Dangote, Strive Masiwa. There's a ton list. And all they have to do is just sit on Google, you'll get emails, send them an email going, hey, this is, you know, Djimon's team. We're thinking about coming to Nigeria if it's Dangote, or coming to Zimbabwe if it's Strive, and doing this. Would you be interested in partnering with us on something like this? And I bet you'll get some responses, some really good responses. Other key partners are companies like mine. Underrated Individuals is a key partner. We have podcasts that we're putting together to talk about these things, but highlight them in a way where we hopefully help people navigate those situations better. So yeah, and you've got Green Door Pictures, you've got Viola Davis Company, you've got Tyler Perry Studios, you've got on the continent, you've got a ton of filmmakers that you could partner with, or at least even they would be willing to work with you, and you go into those spaces and start to see different opportunities. So that's kind of what I think your key partners would be. And then if you look at international kind of brands that are interested in being or partnering with Africa, you would be the perfect ambassador to make that thing happen, and make sure that it's a partnership and not an extraction or exploitation, you know. So that's my thinking. You also got things like the UN system, which I'm not a fan of, but again, it's a potential partner. Key resources in his case, it would be, I would say, a little, maybe two camera setup, mics to start with, and just reviewing content. So he just needs a space, a room in his house, um, and you're just going over stuff and unpacking different things. Like he could have a clip of him acting in a role like a gladiator and explain. "Oh, so I played this character, and these are some of the things I went through." That's some of the content he could produce. The other thing is him talking to, as I said, industry friends and executives about some of the problems that they've come across and how they navigated them. So yeah, to start with, I feel like that's the main thing. And you just need a budget for a bit of software. If you don't know how to cut and stuff and edit things, then you need a budget for that as well. Those are some of the resources that you may or may not have. But again, if you speak to the right people, it's probably very easy for him to do in that space. We can connect you if you need it. I've got a ton of people in LA that or in Cali that would be willing to come in and work with you. Revenue streams, as I said, monetizing YouTube, which he can do in a week with his profile, monetizing TikTok again, as well as events, speaking at different events. You can monetize that. He's already got his acting gigs, and if he wanted to, as I said, he can take on more risk and make a little bit more money, or it might be a lot more. Big problems, big money. Small problems, small money. So he just needs to calculate the risk that he's able to take and willing to take, and take it, and just incrementally grow that risk. It's hard to make a lot of money if you're scared of risk. You need to kind of go, okay, fine, I'm willing to take this L because I can see the pros might, still outweigh this little L that people may see. You have to don't be afraid of failing. We all fail, and he knows it. He's probably failed a few times before he's won so much on the Hollywood scene. His cost structure, as I said, would probably be camera operator, editors. You don't need a sound engineer if you get one person that can do both. But how you would mitigate those cost structures, I mean, you'd have to probably get somebody who's good with design, or if you're not, Canva is an amazing tool to utilize to get ahead of the game. I do a lot of stuff on my laptop, but I've got skills to be able to do a lot of this stuff. His cost structure monthly, even if he hired a team, you're looking at nothing over $3,000-4,000 right now, just doing the podcasting and that type of content. And in a week, he'd be able to put out a minimum of 5 to 10, maybe even 50. So say 5 to 15 videos, depending on the team's efficiency. And that would instantly start to make revenue within the first month. And then it builds his profile, and he'll get more calls, and he'll get more people trying to interact in more, of these spaces, including the film festivals, will be interested in having him on board and speaking on the panels. Then producing a short, once you've put in a month of that work, the second month you can then go, okay, fine, we're going to the continent, we're going to touch base with different countries, go and see what that looks like. And in the second month, you could start to see a bunch of short films that you can engage with. And while you're in a country, if you're in a country for a week and you're working with the team, you could shoot a short film, and you could be part of that short film and use that to leverage that situation and put those people in a new space. But you've created an opportunity and a window for them to grow. There's African Film Festival in London. You've got African film festivals all over the world. Just tap them into those spaces, and people start to go, oh, what's this? So that's kind of the way we see it as a thing. Remember, underrated individuals, our purpose is to empower creators to realize their full potential. The Artist Business Canvas is a powerful tool. It helps break down your business in a way where you're actually managing your business, and you know what your purpose is, so you're able to just make decisions that push you in that direction. That's all purpose does, is it gives you a decision-making framework that many people don't have. So there's a 99 for the year limited spaces. So we've already, 3 of those spaces are gone. So we've got 17 spaces. But then you've got the 24.99 a month or the £100, the €100 a month. The €100 a month gives you calls. So it means that we have 2 phone calls where you're able to understand whether you're moving in the right direction or if you have any pressing questions and things that the email feels that it's not sufficing and it's not doing well for you. You're able to pick up the phone and say, look, can we schedule this call for this, so we can go over my business? So please reach out to us, take the first step today. Email hello@ui-grp.com and a team member will be happy to assist you. This is not a sales pitch. This is me just showing you what the canvas can do. So if you watch this back, you can do it yourself. You don't need to call us. But if you're struggling to put it together because of understanding the industry standards or where the opportunities lie, hit us up and we'll walk you through it. Stay blessed. Jerome signing out. Peace.